All right, everyone, how are you? Welcome to this week's episode of our podcast. It's called Is Breakfast Included? Thanks for stopping by. On the show this week, I had the pleasure of talking to one of my favorite singers of all time, Mr. Tim DeLaughter of the bands Trippin' Daisy and Polyphonic Spree. Tim and I talked a little bit about Trippin' Daisy's history, starting out how he felt they weren't ready for the success that immediately came like an avalanche to them. Their breakup in '99 following the death of their guitar player, Wes Berggren, and how a simple guitar improvised riff at a show at the Kessler Theater brought back that enthusiasm, that passion to officially reunite. And they're heading out on tour. They start June 21st at the Factory in Deep Ellum in Dallas, Texas, and it goes all the way through July 20th to Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a lot of fun talking to Tim. We talked about everything. He got very personal. We got very comical. And I just really appreciate him taking the time to do this. Let's check it out. Tell everyone who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is Tim DeLaughter. I'm in the band Tripping Daisy and also the Polyphonic Spree.
Right on, man. Well, thanks a lot, Tim, for doing this. I know I asked you a while back, and then I circled around. I know you're a busy guy right now, so and there might be a bit of a lag on this, like I said.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that and having.
You guys.
There is.
Yeah. Sorry about that, man. We don't have to talk about the early career. I will tell you this. I was a big fan. I used to go see you guys play at Trees all the time. I used to see you guys, all over, and you were such an original band then. That first album, Bill, was just, to this day, it still stands the test of time, man. It's still, you can put it on and listen to it front to back,
It's so weird when Tripping Daisy. I know you don't want to go back that far, but I got to talk about it since you brought up Bill. When the band first started, we played an open mic, and we had eight songs, 8 or 9 songs. And our first show was at an open mic, and it went so well that Trees, the venue across the street in Deep Ellum, offered us a Thursday night just from what we did on that one night. And the word had gotten out because we did a light show on our first show, and it was like we wanted a show. We were going to come out with this bang and have a show. It's weird. It's like I felt really insecure about our songs and about our, we just started, and, we played Trees, and it kind of blew up from there. And then boom, we started getting weekend shows at these venues right out of the bat because people were coming out and seeing the band. It just kind of happened. It exploded, but the band wasn't really ready for it yet. Because we only knew 8 songs. So we would get where we would play these songs, and then we'd have to keep playing, and all the songs were written out of improvising. So we started doing that on the live stage. And so just to kind of extend it, and we'd literally write songs in front of people without them even knowing, because we didn't want them to know that we only had this many songs. We just kind of kept playing and making stuff up. And it actually made us better musicians being like that, but at the beginning I was real insecure. I was insecure about the songs, and I just because it happened too fast. So I hear that record, and it's so, I've been listening to it a lot lately because we're rehearsing for this tour coming up, and I just hear this. It's so innocent and so, we're just kind of finding our way and writing songs as a band. And that's why it kind of stood out, because it was so unorthodox. We were kind of just inspired by each other and how it would unfold, that there's not really kind of influences on there. They're kind of all over the place. You hear songs like Triangle on there, and then you got songs like Brown Eyed Pickle Boy, and they're kind of anthemic, but they're not. I don't know. They're just all, and then Change of Mind. It's just all over the place. But they're all interesting songs, but they're, in my opinion, they're just so naive, and there's a lot of charm on that record. I look back and it's fun. I look back at that record with fond memories, but I just remember at the time I just thought we weren't ready yet, you know?
Well, when you said about your live show, that's really what stood out with you guys because you guys always, I mean, your songs could have sucked, but
Yeah, they
your
did.
live your live show was so good. And when you say, you guys would improvise on stage, I remember you guys just jamming and you kind of humming along and it was just a really cool thing. I remember a buddy of mine, we went down to see you guys play at Trees, and it might have been a weeknight, like a Thursday night or whatever. And it's when Trees would open that garage door behind the
Yeah,
stage for the opening acts, and
yeah,
we were in line and we're like, oh, cool. We can't get in, but we can watch them from here. And then they closed it as you guys were starting.
right.
But yeah, there were many a nights, man, that we went to see you guys play. And just it was all about the stage show, man. Like you guys not only had good songs, but your live show was really very what I think what the town needed at the time because there were a lot of good bands at the time, you
That
know.
was just it. There were a lot of good bands. That's what made me feel so insecure about all the people we were bringing, is because there's these bands that I would go see that were just killing it, great bands, um and we're coming out of nowhere and pulling these big crowds. It was so bizarre, but I knew going into it I wanted to have a show, and that was just as important as the songs. And I sometimes I put more emphasis on the show part than I did the songs, and eventually we grew into being a band and into songwriting. And but yeah, the show was a big part of it, even from the very first time we ever played it. So yeah.
Well, you guys, of course, we know what happened in 1999, and you guys disbanded. And did you think at the time that you would ever get back together and when you guys got together in 2017 for the Homegrown Fest, was that initially going to be a one-off thing?
Yeah, I had really no interest in doing it. I just it wasn't the same without Wes to me back then. And but we were just getting hammered by fans wanted to see Tripping Daisy, and um I was I just kind of succumbed to it. I go, all right, let's do it. And it was fun. I was into it. And we did a little small tour, and it was great. I still didn't have that feeling of like, yeah, I could do this and embrace it again. It was just it wasn't the same for me, but
Kind of going through the motions at the time?
kinda, yeah. And I hate saying that, but it was a little bit. I still excited about the show. We put on a great show. We had Cavallini come out there, and it was great. And it was fun seeing everybody. But something happened. We played an Alice Cooper song for Chris, for Alice Cooper, for a film that he did, and he had Tripping Daisy come and play a song. So we did a surprise show. Tripping Daisy did. This is a couple years ago at the Kessler in Oak Cliff, and it was the same guys, and except for Dylan Silvers was new. It wasn't Brandon Curtis from Secret Machines. Dylan was there, and we played that show. And I think it was Dylan that kind of went off into this guitar part. He just kind of just started jamming, and Brian picked up on it, Mark picked up on it, then Phil jumped in, and it's like, okay, here we go. And we never talked about it. It's just kind of something he just did, and I was like nodding, like yeah. And so I kind of jumped in and started singing, had a melody, making lyrics, and then Brian and Mark followed. I was okay. Here's going to be a change. Dylan jumped in and changed, and it just started happening. I started kind of like navigating, and man, it felt good again. It was like, wow, this is what I loved about Tripping Daisy, was that spontaneity, that I knew the other rehearsed stuff we could do that, but the real essence for me when I think back to Tripping Daisy was how we would think on our feet and just like put ourselves in these really uncomfortable situations and find our way out of it musically. I love that element. And I do a little bit with the spree, but nothing like how Tripping Daisy was doing it. And so when that happened that night and we did it, and of course nobody knew because it sounded like a song.
Hmm.
And then it was like, man, I could do this again. It just kind of reinvigorated me. And I was like, this is what I loved about the band. I want to do this again. So kind of put it out there and talked to Chris about it. And that's kind of what spawned it, was that one moment. And ever since then, I've like kind of been on the wagon of like, I want to get back out there and make this happen. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it now.
And that style of spontaneity, that improvising, that went on through your whole career with Trippin' Daisy.
Yeah,
I mean, I hear songs like Piranha and I hear the jam element to it,
totally.
which is one of my favorite songs by you guys, by the way.
Mine too. I love that song.
Yeah.
I got a lead on that song. It's the only song I have a lead part on guitar, and you can tell it's me. It's not one of those other guys. But I love that song. But yeah, man, we would literally write songs in front of people on tour, and they had no idea. And eventually, they came out as like songs on an album. And
Mhm.
so that was what I loved about that band. I loved the show aspect, but I also loved the fact of how spontaneous it could be, and you never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And so once that happened, that you got this new reinvigoration for it, is that when you decided, well, why not record an album? Why not go on tour?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the guys, and Mark's always been up for it. Brian's always been up for it. Um, it's just like I was the one that just really wasn't ready for it. And now I'm coming to them going, I want to do this, man. I'm excited. I want to put energy into this. I want to make it happen. We've got Nick Earl in there who plays guitar with Polyphonic Spree, who's an amazing guitar player. And Phil Carnatz, who was with us back in the day, who came in on Self-Titled. He was on Jesus Hits. He's with us. And so it's a really good collection of musicians. Dylan Silver's kind of doing auxiliary, and it's a good band. And so I feel really confident in that area. And the fact that we can all improvise and play, it's like, man, we could do a record. So we're kind of dabbling in it. And we have some songs that we um we never released with Tripping Daisy that we did that could possibly come out on the next record as well. So yeah, the first idea was to get out there and tour to see if we could ride out on the road, maybe take some of the songs and incorporate them into a new record. Take some of the stuff that we have in the past that were really good songs we never did put out, and put them on there and kind of make an album. So that's what I'm looking forward to on this tour, to see what we kind of come up with. But yeah, we're gonna eventually put an album out, Tripping Daisy, and tour.
Yeah. So when you guys rehearse the current lineup, do you feel it in the room that everyone's kind of on that same wavelength? Everyone's comes in and is there for that?
Totally. I mean, I know Nick is like chomping at the bit to get after it. He's an amazing wizard of a guitar player, and he can kind of go anywhere he wants to go. And like I said, it's like Mark and Brian have been ready to do this for a long time. So it's like when we can start playing these songs and getting into it, there's a spirit in there again of just these new guys that were, I say new, none of them are really that new. They're new to Tripping Daisy fans, and that's just, Nick and Dylan, but Phil and Mark and Brian and were there at the beginning until Ben came in. But it's a good it's a good group of guys that are believing in Tripping Daisy, and I don't know, it's been fun, just getting together and rehearsing and playing these songs. So
Yeah.
I'm anxious to get back out there again. I mean, Tripping Days hasn't toured in 26 years outside of Texas, so it's a big deal.
Yeah. And your first show is June 21st at
Yeah,
the Factory, which is almost a year ago you played at the Factory, June
yeah. It's
29th.
now it's now gone back to the original name, the Bomb Factory.
Oh, it
They ch-
has?
yeah, they kind of shed that worried the bomb. They took the bomb off because of the way the world was going, and now they've embraced the original name, the Bomb Factory. So they're announcing that this year, and yeah, we'll be playing songs from Adam Jesus hits like the Atom Bomb.
Right on, man. I read in another interview, man, that they said, the music landscape has changed so much since you guys put out an album, since you toured, and that what were your expectations for Trippin' Daisy now? And you gave the perfect answer, like you have no expectations. Um, you just want to get out there and share the
Yeah,
music.
yeah. You never. I mean, I've never put especially Tripping Daisy, it was so organic. You just never knew what shape or size it was going to come in, the direction, the heaviness, the arranging. You just never knew where it was going to go. And that's the part that I love about that band. There's no telling what we're going to come out with, but each record's always been completely different from the last. I kind of do. Hope that that happens. You know, you don't want to sound like you did on the last record, but you don't want to alienate people either. But Tripping Daisy really never had that problem. Our natural progression grew with the audience, and the audience grew along with us, and so it was fine. So, um, the people that are in the band, we can't help but probably, have um, elements of Tripping Daisy from back in the day that's just inherently us, you know?
Yeah.
And in my voice, I can't change that. It's just who I am. And so you're going to get you're going to get Tripping Daisy, but it's going to be, I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be cool though. I mean, I'll promise you that it'll be cool.
Right on, man. And you guys, you're doing a full, this is a full tour. Um,
Yeah, well, actually, it was for 2.5 months. Um, but Chris had his accident. Chris Penn, my manager, the tour manager, and partner, um, passed away. But he had had an accident prior, and so we were um, we were in the midst of booking for 2.5 months. But then the accident happened. I told him, man, I can't go off that long without knowing what's up. And unfortunately, he passed away, but I cut it down to a month. So we're doing a month on this run, and then there'll be another leg of Tripping Daisy, which we'll play, and we'll play the other places we didn't play on this one.
yeah. Um, do you mind if we talk about that for a minute about Chris?
Yeah, no.
So yeah, he was your manager, booker, partner, best friend, you know,
Yeah,
uh, and unfortunately passed away. I frequented the store. I can't say we were friends, but he was always so nice. And
yeah,
from reading all the comments from, that it pretty much, I guess I was his friend every time,
yeah.
you know. But
That effect on people.
yeah, was there a after that happened, was there a consideration of maybe not doing it, or you
He
keep the commitment?
No, no, he insisted he didn't want me to cut it down. The talk of cutting the tour in half was done when he was alive in the hospital. He was telling me what to do, like y'all need to do this, da 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 da. Like he did not want it to. He wanted me to do the whole 2.5 months. And I just like, man, I can't do that. I got to know. I don't know what's going on. You know, I'll do a month. So he was very committed. He was going on this tour. He wants it to happen, wanted it to happen, and so we're doing it. And it's mainly it's just something I wanted to do, but it's also something Chris wanted us to do,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna do it. You know.
yeah. And I'll ask you this, and you don't have to answer it, or you can. How does it feel like now? I mean, you guys were pretty much on a upward trajectory when Wes passed away, and now you're coming back to a lot of fanfare. That how does that feel that you've lost Chris? That is there any um
it's bittersweet,
Grudge up anything, you know?
I mean, it's bittersweet. It's like, of course I want Chris to be there. He was a massive fan of Tripping Daisy and he was planning on going. And this was, he was excited. It was for him too. Um, as far as like where the band left off at the time, when Tripping Daisy left off, you say we're on our upper trajectory, but it's to me we were kind of like we needed a break. We were so fried as a band and kind of getting disjointed. Drugs were, kind of a part of what was going on, and we were kind of fractured group. And it was weird. That record is it's such a dovetail into what happened afterwards, which is Polyphonic Spree. Um, but I don't know, what would have happened after. I know we would have taken a long time off before we put out another record again because it was everything we could do to make that record happen. Um, and I don't know. It's different, and and here we are starting back out again. And it's like, and Chris isn't here, and but at the same time, I know he's there. He's with us on this. He insisted on this tour happening, and we're still the same guys, and we're just going to continue to do what we do. And like I said, I'm looking forward to visiting that spirit again of Tripping Daisy, and so. Um, I got a glimpse of it that night at the Kessler, and I'm looking forward to getting it back out on the road.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. Were you when you guys did the reunion tour at Homegrown, like you said, you wanted to do it, but you just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at the turnout and the excitement of that show?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know that. I didn't know where people were with Tripping Daisy. We had been gone for so long, and we just stopped, and so I didn't know if we had the impact of people would still be there. I didn't know. So yeah, I was kind of shocked. There was over 5,000 people at that show that day, and I couldn't believe it. And then we played last year at the Bomb Factory. There were, almost 4,000 people there at that show. And so it just, you know, I knew, I mean, Tripping Daisy made a huge impact on this city when it came out back in the day. It was beyond. And
It really was, man. It you know, to
yeah,
be cliche, it hit like an atom bomb, it
I
just
mean,
blew up.
it, and then I guess you see I mean, it meant a lot to a lot of people at the time, and you don't really realize that until you play shows years and years later, and then you see people show up, and it's like, wow, man. Yeah, there was an impact that happened back in the '90s with Tripping Daisy, and um, I don't know. It was when you were in it, you're so close, and it was just exciting, and it was crazy. And like I said, at the beginning, I was so uh, I insecure about it because I just felt like we weren't even deserving of that yet musically. But eventually we got there where I felt really good about our band and confident about our songwriting. And I grew as a songwriter and then it became, wow, I'm really, it was I don't know, huge part of my outlet for my own self personally was that band. And um, so it I've got a lot of fond memories of it. So it's cool when we play these things years later to see everybody. It was like a big reunion at the Bomb Factory show. It was like all these people that you saw back in the day there, and you're like reminiscing, and it
Yeah,
was crazy, man. It was like a family reunion. It was. It's what
yeah.
it felt like.
Well, I mean it. I think it's I think it's the perfect time for a Trip and Daisy tour. I think it's a perfect time for a Trip and Daisy album. That's me personally saying this. And
Yeah.
I when people talk about bands that came out of the DFW, I mean, you're mentioned right up there with Pantera. Dude,
Wow.
you know,
Crazy, man.
people talk about Pantera and they go, "What about Trip and Daisy?" And there was I mean, at the time, there was so many bands, the Toadies, Vibrolux, Brutal Juice. These bands were just amazing. But, you know, you guys, there was never a competition in my eyes, but, you came out of where you came out of. Like, I'm from Corsicana. So,
Yes.
you guys were a small town band that made us think we could do it.
Right. No, I know, and that's how it was because it's like, who are these guys? Where did they come from? And it was a freaky thing, man. I mean, even for me, being in it, but uh, I don't know. It all started with the show. I wanted to put on a show, and um, that's where it kind of began. And Lord, it took us off, you know.
Did you think you'd still be doing it?
It's like it's weird. It's like so Scott Berman, he was childhood friends in seventh grade. Scott Berman's the guy that did all the visuals back then. The guy that had the scaffolding in the middle of the room, had the slide projectors, the oil and the overhead projectors, four 16 millimeter projectors, just this massive onslaught of like projectors and oil and water and the screen. And, um, you know, we've been friends since seventh grade. And, now we just released a full dome immersive experience film with Scott called Resolution. It's done to the Polyphonic Spree's last album, Salvage Enterprise. So we're kind of dipping back into the world of show, and but we've done this dome theater that's done by different animators from all over the world that basically reinvents the way you listen to an album, and it's and we're doing it together so we started at Tripping Daisy, and if you just said 25, 30 years later, we're now doing these dome theater experiences with the same, Scott and I'm doing the music, he's doing the visuals.
Yeah.
Like I would have never thought that, but that's happening. But I never saw back when I was done with Tripping Daisy, I was like, I'll never go back to that. And you just can't ever say never, it just happens. And I still would have been lukewarm about the idea if it wasn't for that breakthrough we had at the Kessler. And it really did do something where I was like, and I told all us guys that night, I go, man, something happened to me. I want to do this. I felt it. Where in the past it was just I'm going through it and appeasing a lot of people. Yeah, you get to see Tripping Daisy. It was different. It's like I want to do this, and um, it was it was cool. And I'm looking forward to it.
I hear the way you talk about it here now. And when was that Kessler show? What year was that?
It was, I want to say it's 2.5 years ago. It
I,
was, yeah, probably 2.5 years ago.
I hear the way you talk about it now to me. And I remember reading an interview or someone talking to you about that show, and you talked about that experience on stage. And for you to still talk about it with that passion, it's so cool, man, because it did do something to you. It does. It moves you inside, and you're like, that's it. Here it is. This is what, was missing.
That's exactly it, man. I mean, that's how I am. I can't, I've got to be moved by it to be really like charged and go full force in it. And that's what happened that night. And it's like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it's like, this band can do this. And I love that feeling so much of being on the spot and improvising and having to work our way out of it musically. Just, I love that element of Tripping Daisy. And so the fact that it happened that night and it felt so organic and it came out of nowhere that I was like, yeah, man, I'm charged. I'm ready.
Right on. Right on. It sounds like it. And that I'm not gonna be there for the New York show, but I'll be home for your Connecticut show.
Okay. Is
So
that where you live? Connecticut?
I'll be living in Connecticut by then.
Okay.
So
Cool. Awesome.
so
Well,
I
let me know. I'll put you on the list.
all right, man. I appreciate that. But well, I can't say enough how happy I am to see you, the band, not just you, the band going
Yeah.
out a proper tour and have that inspiration to write a new album because you guys were a big part of not just my life, a lot of people that I know, we were huge fans and you it's like guys who collect comic books or collect trade. It's that part of your young life that brings it back that, to see you guys doing it at the highest level, man, because I've been watching videos of you guys um and you're doing it at a very high level. You're not just phoning it in.
No, I can't do that. Even my phone in has got to be at a high level, but when I've got some serious passion behind it and spirit behind it, there's kind of like something comes that it's out of my control and it's got to go to a new level. So I don't know. I'm stoked about it. It's like I said, it's bittersweet because Chris won't be there, but he will be there in spirit. He'll be out there. He's watching, he knows what's up
Yeah.
and what he wanted us to do. And he never wanted this band to quit in the first place. He wanted to keep going. A lot of people did. And at the time, I just couldn't. You know, it was gut wrenching what happened, losing Wes, and I thought I couldn't do it anymore. And so the fact that we're able to kind of do it again, and I can find that spirit, enthusiasm that I need for myself, um, it's awesome to be. Yeah, like I'm later in my life, and I'm out here playing these songs, and I'm wanting to make more of them. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
What
it's
do
great.
your kids think of you, man?
Pardon me.
What do your kids think of you?
Oh, you know what? They've always loved Tripping Daisy. That's been more their speed, Tripping Daisy, and it's weird. Like Oscar or Julius will, text me and say, "You're not gonna believe this. We're at this house party and they're playing Tripping Daisy." I'm like, "What?" And like, "Yeah, Dad. There's a whole surgence of people our age that love Tripping Daisy." I'm like, "Oh wow, all right, cool." So it's kind of great for them because finally they're here. They're getting to see Tripping Daisy. When they were younger, they never saw it because it happened before them.
Yeah.
Uh, but they always see it out there in the ether and on the internet and like, wow, that's so cool you did that. And like, yeah. And so now they're kind of are old enough to kind of be a part of it. My son Oscar's going out on tour with us. He's going to be selling merch. So he's going to be right there in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. I always say that the merch guy is the most important guy because everyone else on tour costs the band money. He's the
Yeah,
only guy they're making him money.
exactly. And he better do that. I told him I said, it's a lot of pressure, Oscar. You're the guy that's got to make the money that we need because we're not making it anywhere else.
You're the first one they see and the last one they see on their way in and their way out.
Yep.
I always told my son, man, when you go see your favorite bands, buy merch. Buy merch. You know.
Yeah. It's so vital these days.
Well, that man, that this is really cool, man. I've wanted to talk to you for a long time. I'm glad we finally made the time to do it. But what, where can people find out about the tour, about Trip and Daisy, about Polyphonic Spree, about your immersive movie? Where can they find out about all that?
Okay, well, you can go to trippingdaisy.com, our website, and it's got tickets for all these shows that are shown that we're playing on tour. You can click and find where you're going to be or what's close to you. Click on it and buy a ticket. That's got all the Tripping Daisy stuff on there, merch, everything. We're also releasing I'm an Elastic Firecracker out on Good Records, which that's going to be we're doing pre-sales right now, which that's available on there, and also Jesus Hits Like the Atom Bomb on vinyl. You'll be able to get that as well on there. Polyphonic Spree, just go to polyphonicspree.com, find out what's going on there. We're not playing for a while. We've got a one-off after Tripping Daisy tour, and then we've got our holiday show that happens every year here in Dallas. And then go to resolution.com or resolution on Instagram, and that's the film. And you can see that at the Omni Theater in Fort Worth, which is a full hemisphere LED, 8K LED dome theater. It's the best in the country besides the Sphere in Las Vegas. It's an amazing space, and our film's playing there for the next year. And it's also playing in Denton at the planetarium there, the Sky Theater in Denton on the North Texas campus. So the idea that will be traveling, that'll be on different planetariums and dome theaters throughout the country, and eventually across the UK with pop-ups along the way. So Resolution's out there. If you get a chance, go check that out. Like I said, it's a new way of listening to records. You go in there, listen to the album from start to finish with visuals done along the way.
Are there
But
any plans of maybe getting it into the Sphere in Las Vegas?
yeah, eventually, they're on a 2-year back order right now. They've got plenty of material. So maybe eventually, but you'll definitely see it in planetariums and other Cosm theaters around the country that are popping up.
Okay. And last I heard, you guys had a GoFundMe for Chris and his family. Is that still active? Would you mind us putting a link to that?
I would love for you to do that. Yeah, just there's a QR code that they put up. You just scan that and go donate what you can.
All right. Well, Tim, man, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Like I said, it's an honor for me to have you on our show. You know,
Well,
this is why we started the show to talk to people like you. You know.
well, I appreciate you having me. I've just now started doing these. I don't do them. I haven't really done podcasts. I'll do one every now and then. So I appreciate you. Anytime I talk about Tripping Daisy, I'll come out and talk about it. But it was such a big part of my life, and kind of spearheaded where I was going to eventually go. So yeah, anytime I can talk about Tripping Daisy, I'll talk about it.
Right on, man. Well, our podcast, it's called "Is Breakfast Included?" And if we were having breakfast, uh, what would you have?
I would have waffles, sausage, 2 eggs over easy, and hash browns crispy.
Coffee?
No coffee. I don't drink coffee.
All right.
No, that's weird, but caffeine freaks me out. So just water,
Right on.
orange juice, milk.
Well, brother, thank you so much for your time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys out on the road.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, good talking to you.
Likewise.
Right on. Tim DeLaughter. What a great guy, right? If you want to find out more about Tim and Trippin' Daisy and Polyphonic Spree and the Dome Theater film, you can find out more on Instagram at Tim DeLaughter, the Polyphonic Spree, Trip Daisy Official, that's Trip Daisy OFCL, and Resolution the Film. And you can find out about all those projects. Also, we'll be posting a link to the GoFundMe that helps Chris Penn's family. Any little bit helps. So if you can give, Chris was a big supporter of the Dallas music scene, of music in general. So if you can help out, do that. While you're online, check out isbreakfast.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram from there. Go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. Check out some of the older ones. We're a little rough, but hey, they're pretty good, man. You find out a lot. Rate and review the show on Apple Podcast or any streaming platform you listen to us. I found out that we're on Audible, so that's kind of cool, right? Isn't that the book thing, Audible? And while you're there, pick up a shirt. I want to thank Tim for taking the time out to do this. I'm done. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.